So which is better, wholesaling or fixing and flipping? Well, that is totally dependent upon where you're at in terms of your assets, what you have going on, that type of thing. So wholesaling is the quicker of the two in terms of making money. Wholesaling, in terms of your barrier to entry, you don't need cash or credit. You really don't. You can basically tie up a wholesale deal with like $10, turn around, and you're pretty much selling your rights to that property you have under contract to the person that's fixing and flipping. So, give you an example. You got a property, it's worth $100,000. You find a motivated seller who has had that property for some years. Property needs 20 grand in work, and the owner only wants, let's say, 25,000 for the property. Property needs some work, 20 grand, like I said, and so basically 20 plus 25, that's $45,000. Okay, property's worth 100. You turn around and for 5,000, you tack on another $5,000 on top of that. So for 50 grand, you have an investor who will go ahead and buy your property. In other words, buy your rights to that property so that he can go ahead, work on the property, turn around and flip it for a profit. Now that end investor is going to put 20 grand into the property. So let's say he got that property total of 50 grand, because remember he gave you that $5,000 assignment fee. So 50 grand plus 20 grand in fix up. Now he's into it for $70,000. Remember, it's worth 100. So let's just assume he sells it for that $100,000. So he's made 30,000 profit on that property versus your $5,000 wholesale assignment fee. That's one of the reasons why wholesalers get into fix and flip investing. And it all depends on your personal preference. Some wholesalers never want to deal with fixing and flipping. Some were actually fix and flippers before, and then they fell back into wholesaling. Personally, I think you should diversify. That's just me. Not just wholesaling, not just fixing and flipping, but buying and holding. And the reason I bring up buying and holding is you go ahead, you find a deal like that, and you go ahead and, so let's take that same scenario. So you go ahead, you get a deal like that. You're into it fixed up for $65,000, $70,000. You have a mortgage on the property, total of, let's say your monthly payment is $600 a month, and you can rent that property out for $1,000 a month or $1,100 a month. That monthly cash flow, especially as you get up in age, that makes all the difference in the world. And the real objective, I believe, is to pay your rental properties off, because now you're cash flowing like crazy. So now, take those three scenarios. What if you have 3 or 4 or 5 rental properties that are totally paid off, cash flowing like crazy? Now you got the freedom to wholesale. Now you got the freedom to fix and flip. You know what I mean? And next month you don't have to stress out. You don't have to stress out or worry about, is this deal going to close? You know, on your fix and flip, is it going to close? Or can you wholesale the deal? You know, and you consider it a wholesale, but you've had it for like a month or two and it's not closing, and you need this commission and that type of thing. With rental property, with that residual income, you don't have those pressures. You know, so wholesaling versus fixing and flipping, I think that, you know, it's totally dependent upon your personal preference, where you're at. Obviously, wholesaling is the lowest barrier to entry, no cash or credit. When you graduate to fixing and flipping, you're going to make typically more money because you're going to take on more risk on average, because the wholesalers are selling to the people that are fixing and flipping. And the reason that these guys are fixing and flipping is because they're buying properties at great prices and they're making higher profit margins. You know what I mean? So this is Gerald with another tip. Have a good one.